Hi, I'm Carl Azus for CNN 10. Our week and month start off in an island nation that's located between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Indonesia has been struck by yet another natural disaster. It began on Friday when the island of Sulawesi was hit by a magnitude 7.5 earthquake. That's considered a major quake, one capable of significant damage, and it generated a tsunami which brought ocean waves estimated to be almost 10 feet high. They rushed ashore on parts of Sulawesi and caused a level of destruction that government officials aren't able to estimate yet. They say at least 832 people were killed in the disaster, but that number could increase a great deal because thousands are still missing. In total, authorities estimate that more than 2 million people have been affected. Floodwaters and heaps of debris are piled up in several parts of the island, and some areas are hard to get to because the roads have been damaged or blocked by landslides. According to the British Broadcasting Corporation, rescuers in one city are digging through the rubble by hand, searching for survivors. There's not enough heavy machinery available to help. The ground beneath them has been unstable since the quake struck. Aftershocks continued to rattle Sulawesi throughout the weekend, and with electricity and communications knocked out, authorities and residents are struggling to share information. The damage is making it hard for international aid workers to get supplies to those who need it.
The news out of the Indonesian island of Sulawesi only expected to get worse in the coming hours and days as rescuers are able to reach some of the areas that remain cut off with communication lines down and roads destroyed after the 7.5 quake, which was devastating enough, but the even more devastating tsunami that followed, killing hundreds of people, possibly more, in the coastal city of Palu. The videos that have been coming in just show a really horrific scene. People perhaps unaware as they're driving in their cars or riding in their bikes with these huge waves, 3 meters or around 10 feet, racing towards shore, lifting up buildings, pushing cars and debris at a very violent force inland, basically destroying everything in their path. The president of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, was on the ground. He declared a state of emergency for Sulawesi. He ordered rescue personnel to work day and night to evacuate people. You're talking about almost 20,000 people potentially who are homeless. They need, food and water and supplies to make sure that their conditions remain sanitary. Hospitals are also badly in need of supplies. The airport in Palu only partially open as of Sunday evening local time, allowing limited flights for military personnel and supplies, but commercial flights that would carry humanitarian aid workers are not being allowed in. So the people who are actually going to help the victims on the ground are having to drive from airports that are 7, 10, or 12 hours away, which means that help, which is badly needed right now, very slow to trickle in. Will Ripley, CNN, Hong Kong.
This century, there have been multiple earthquakes and tsunamis generated around Indonesia. They've killed hundreds of thousands of people in the region. Scientists say the earth below this section of the Ring of Fire is constantly changing and moving, making earthquakes so common that it's not a matter of if another one will strike, but when.
There's one thing you need to know about the Ring of Fire. It produces 90% of the world's earthquakes. The Ring of Fire includes about 450 volcanoes. Many of them are submarine volcanoes, meaning they're underwater, as are 75% of the world's volcanoes in total. Now, the Ring of Fire is also called the Circum-Pacific Belt. It's a result of plate tectonics. The movement of the plates has created a nearly continuous series of oceanic trenches and chains of volcanoes stretching for 25,000 miles in a horseshoe-shaped pattern from New Zealand past Japan, across the Bering Strait, and down toward the tip of South America. The plate movement also causes earthquakes. Because many of these earthquakes occur in the ocean, the Ring of Fire is also known for tsunamis, produced when the ocean floor is either forced to rise or fall. When a megathrust event happens in this region, the water is displaced and the water pushes ashore. Most tsunamis are only a few inches high, but there are times that that wave and that swell can be as tall as buildings.
It appears a series of tweets has cost a businessman millions of dollars and part of his job. That's the settlement between Elon Musk, a billionaire who co-founded the Tesla car company, and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, which aims to protect investors and keep markets fair. In August, Musk tweeted that he'd secured the money to take Tesla from a publicly held company to a privately held one. Investors liked that idea. The tweet caused Tesla's stock to rise. But government investigators said Musk had not secured that money, that he'd misled investors with the tweet, so the SEC sued him. Musk called the lawsuit unjustified and said he'd always acted in the best interests of truth, transparency, and investors. But on Saturday, he agreed to settle the suit by paying a $20 million fine and stepping away from his job as chairman of Tesla for 3 years. Musk is still the company's chief executive officer, but losing the chairman position could mean his power within Tesla is limited. As part of the agreement, the company has also been ordered to pay $20 million for not properly policing Musk's tweet. Updating you now on the confirmation process for a U.S. Supreme Court nominee. Last Friday, the Senate Judiciary Committee voted along party lines to recommend that Judge Brett Kavanaugh be confirmed to the Supreme Court. That advances his nomination. It's now up to the full Senate to make the final vote on whether to confirm President Donald Trump's nominee. But that vote, like the one at the Senate Judiciary Committee, has also been delayed because of some senators' concerns about the testimonies we reported on in last Friday's show. President Trump has ordered a new FBI investigation into some of the accusations made against Judge Kavanaugh. That investigation is expected to last a week, and the full Senate is expected to hold its vote after that wraps up. 10-second trivia. In which of these nations do residents have the highest life expectancy? Monaco, Japan, Luxembourg, or Norway? According to the CIA World Factbook, people born in Monaco can expect to live 89.5 years on average, the highest life expectancy on Earth. The United States is 43rd on the CIA's list with a life expectancy average of 80 years. The nation of Chad is lowest with just over 50 years. Now, of course, things like job opportunities, poverty, medical care, war, and disease all factor into a national life expectancy. But what about on a personal level? How much does being young at heart factor in? As part of our ongoing Living to 100 series, here's Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
A recent study that I read basically asked this question, not how old are you, but how old do you feel? And they asked it for a specific reason, because they found a correlation between how people feel and how old they really act, and how their bodies actually age. There was this great story that we did about a nursing home that was really close to a nursery school. The people from the nursing home oftentimes spend time with these kids, and you'd see them get out of the nursing home, actually walk down the street to the nursery school, something that they didn't typically do, and then spend time with these kids. Besides the exercise, it seemed to bring them a lot of laughter, a lot of joy. If you look at some of these elderly people who are spending time with younger people, you're starting to see the benefits. You're starting to see reductions in dementia, improvements in memory overall, improved motility as well, people getting up and walking about. And I think perhaps most importantly, less depression and more joy. I think Frank Sinatra probably had it right when he said, "You make me feel so young, even when you live to 100.
You make me feel so spring has sprung.
At a Goodwill donation store in California, an employee who was sorting through a box of donated items found something pretty valuable wrapped in foil, $46,000 in cold hard cash. At first, he said he couldn't believe it and wondered if the money was real. He told his managers they tracked down the woman who made the donation. She'd sent the items to Goodwill after a relative who owned them passed away and said she had no idea cash was inside. The employee who helped return it said it was just the right thing to do. It was a goodwill effort. Some might say that's not realistic. For him, it was altruistic. Whether or not he needed the dough, get it, he took transaction to cash in on virtue, and as far as that's concerned, it's money in the bank, y'all. I'm Carl Azuz, and these puns are spent. We'll see you tomorrow.